Who are you to not be amazing? Who are you to not go big? We're about to go big with controversial artists. Art and controversy tend to go hand in hand. So the artists I've singled out focus on a certain genre of controversy. First up with the Genesis Award is James Whistler. Whistler's known for his foggy paintings of London, as well as a certain portrait of his mother in gray. But there's more to Whistler than just this. A proponent of the artistic counterculture mantra of art for art's sake, Whistler, like other painters and decorative artists, sought to make art devoid of moral subjugation and deeper meaning. He wanted to make art that could stand by itself for its own sake. The concept was harshly criticized by philosophers and Marxists at the time, who sought to apply political meaning behind everything, kind of like we see today. In the 19th century, trade opened up between Western Europe and Japan, and the Japanese art from the likes of Hiroshige and Hokusai made their way into the artistic zeitgeist of European avant-garde painters. In 1875, 1 year after Monet first displayed Impression Sunrise in France, Whistler showed his new painting, Nocturne in Black and Gold, revealing a manner of splatter techniques and deliberate composition of a nighttime fireworks show speckling in a smoky sky. It's what we would just consider something of a semi-abstract painting today. This caused an uproar and was seen as Whistler making a mockery of the public by displaying this. One particular critic, John Ruskin, really had it in for Whistler and publicly roasted Whistler and his painting, effectively canceling him to the point where people who own Whistler's other paintings were quick to get rid of them. This was such a blast to Whistler's reputation and potential legacy that he took Ruskin to court for slander. He eked out a win but declared bankruptcy in the process. James Abbott Mcneil Whistler was among the first guard of painters to have the invention of the photograph encroach on their craft, and Whistler acknowledged that in terms of capturing real life, the photograph was the greatest artist, and that the job of the painter was now to provide something additional and give something that a photograph could not. The Hitchhiker here, one artist that must be included here because he arguably started the spiral into the absurdity and the placing of shock over artistic value, is Marcel Duchamp. Duchamp actually is a very talented painter. His 1912 nude descending the staircase, no matter what you think of this style, the technique and craft of the work is clearly of a mastery level. But nevertheless, this painting was shown in Paris. He was asked to remove it. It was shown in Barcelona. He was laughed out. It was shown in New York. The painting was mocked and ridiculed. Some of the criticism coming from the cubist, futurist nature of it. Others coming from the idea that a nude female in a work of art should be treated as they historically had, like eye candy, flowy, to be gazed upon in a pose, not engaged in some mundane utilitarian task like walking down the stairs. And so Duchamp's experience with this painting may have been the jumping off point for him to completely become the world's art supervillain through Dadaism. And while he didn't invent Dada, his submission to the 1917 Society Independent Artist Exhibition would become the infamous symbol, a urinal giving the title The Fountain. This, with other quote-unquote ready-mades, just some random store-bought junk put together, provided for the pretentious and untalented a first-class ticket into the world of artistic success. From this point to present day, you have a century of art whose sole mission is to be wacky and offensive and absurd as possible. Anything from cans of feces to literal trash piles to plain rocks. The goal shifted from making good art to making controversy. Which one do you think is easier? At the point of this video's making, AI is coming into the scene with art creation. And is it art is a common theme among the biggest criticisms of any new thing. And this video's Serious Award is no exception. Walt Disney is known for Mickey Mouse and theme parks, but you consider what he does to be in the art space? In 1937, Disney sent the Metropolitan Museum of Art an original still cell of 2 vultures from the animated film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The idea was it should be hung alongside their existing collection, the likes of Titian, Mary Cassatt, Caravaggio, Courbet, and Van Gogh. In all likelihood, Disney never even touched the cell. And so there in itself are 2 controversies. Is an entertainment cartoon considered museum-worthy high art. And it's Walt Disney who we credit for the work. Right out of the gate, we tend to think of artists toiling away at their canvases or chiseling away at their marble. And this is definitely the case for the likes of Van Gogh and Cassatt. We like to believe there's a purity in art, and we get disappointed or sneer at the idea someone traced something or otherwise used tricks or shortcuts to achieve a work. But the secret is that art, from Raphael to Van Eyck to Gustave Doré to Andy Warhol, large-scale art studios have dozens of other artists working on stuff under the banner of the lead artist, who may have only given minimal input into the production of a work. The artists themselves may not have even signed it in some cases. Walt Disney Studios is probably the single largest employer of artists in the world. Today we think of Disney as a mega corporation gobbling up networks and corporations left and right. Not exactly poetic and artistic, but it all started with the drawing of a mouse. From Hollywood studios to the streets of New York, this Sunday Deluxe goes to Jean-Michel Basquiat. Basquiat was a low-level graffiti artist in New York City when he met and found a champion in public access TV host Glenn O'Brien. Basquiat's rudimentary artworks reach back to the tradition of Duchamp and make possible the success of artists on the street today like Banksy. Basquiat's work has been described as absurd, and he's been called a talentless hustler. This is extremely unintentionally ironic and actually reflects Basquiat's career. Basquiat emerged at a time the New York hip-hop and punk scenes were blossoming. Basquiat was the perfect artist to capitalize or to exploit on this up-and-coming trend. The world of high art is a very affluent and very white place. Basquiat was a young and black man embodying both the punk and hip-hop ethos and an avatar for the upper crust to excitedly experience and have relevance in this new wave, the slums of Bohemia. Basquiat no doubt understood this, and it probably deeply troubled him. But how do you complain as an artist when you're making over $1 million a year? His artwork wasn't built on actual skill. He was built up by the machine, and I think he understood how fragile his success actually was. Rounding us off with the Bigfoot Award is comic book artist Rob Liefeld. If you remember comic books from the 1990s with the muscles on muscles for men and the where are her organs for the women, over-the-top armor and bionics, and just a seemingly overall lack of understanding of human anatomy, then you remember Liefeld's work. But if you were a kid looking at these comic books in the 90s, the over-the-top nature of his work just added to the amazement of what it must be like to be a superhero, with a body of work consisting of limbs with no rational placement or proportional congruency to the torsos in which they connect. He has pages and pages of people online roasting his work and asking how this man could be a professional artist. A little more of a fair question than asking this of, say, Basquiat, where Liefeld does have to adhere to a level of objectivity. Liefeld preceded the comic gate movement by almost 25 years when he left Marvel to form Image Comics, which is known for Walking Dead, Spawn, Kick-Ass, and Radiant Black. Additionally, Liefeld has another major saving grace amongst fans. He created Deadpool. So in the grand scheme of things, you have to wonder, is Liefeld a bad artist, or over the span of 4 decades worth of drawings, if he's allowed to have garbled a few? And that's controversial. That's big. Before you jump off, check out some of these new comics coming out and new controversial artworks. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give a like, subscribe, all that jazz, and we'll see you next time.